All right, let's talk about this movie. I've been waiting to talk about this movie for a little while, but I just haven't had time to do it. But now it's time. Let's talk. Wait, no, no. I don't. I'm not doing this movie justice in this intro. I'm not cool enough in this intro to talk about this movie. And I know I'm still not cool enough, but let's talk about war. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about the Indian action thriller War, and I am excited to talk about this movie. I will warn you, after I vaguely talk about the movie, I'm just going to talk about the movie, so I am going to spoil it. That being said, I'm still going to endorse this movie. It may not be for everybody, but man, does this movie have a lot of things going on. This movie, to set it up, you have this Indian soldier named Khalid who wants to be a part of this special team. And it's led by the manliest of manly men, Kabir. And he wants to train under Kabir, even though, and I'll talk about this later. There's something that happened between their two families. But Kabir is the best, and he wants to train under him. And he finally gets to, and then you just go on this ride of action and relationships and family and betrayal and all sorts of stuff that I'm going to talk about in the spoiler part of this review. Look, and I'll probably I'm gonna say these names once because I'm probably gonna mispronounce them the rest of the time. Playing Khalid is Tiger Shroff, and playing Kabir is probably the manliest man I've ever seen in my life. Hrithik Roshan. And the poster even makes a big deal. It's like Hrithik versus Tiger. So it must be a big deal in Indian cinema that these two are going against each other. And so with these two getting together, what you get is a lot of different genres, a lot of just story, and they cover so much in this movie. But what I'll say about this is what you get from your two main characters in this movie it almost feels like something out of maybe the late 90s. Even you can even say some 80s stuff, but you get a lot of different feels from different movies. And I'd say late 90s, early 2000s when it comes to like just how manly these characters are, right? And it's not, saying there isn't other characters in the movie, but these two are the main characters that they focus on. That's where all the main story is focused on, is these two guys for the most part. Stuff that's happening to these two guys. There's definitely two different stories going on. And you get a lot out of it. I mean, this movie is 2.5 hours long, but you wouldn't know it. I mean, there's a few times in the movie where, let's just say, and again, I'm going to talk about more of this in the spoiler section, but there's some things that go on that might take some people out of the movie, but I'll explain it in a bit. It's just how, like after a mission, something that happens after a mission where in American cinema, you have a successful military mission and the dude bros will go out for a beer, right? Well, the Indians do things differently. Let's just put it that way. And again, I'll talk about it here in a bit. But what you get out of this movie is a lot of different genres, and you get like some really cool action. If you like, I mean, I'm not going to say the action is, and this is better than say the Raid movies, but you do get a couple scenes that are like that kind of fighting, that just brutal, hard-hitting type fighting, like fast-paced, a lot of stuff going on, covers a lot of area type fighting. Tiger Shroff, especially, like right at the first of the movie, has this really cool action scene. And then you get some military stuff. You get some shoot 'em up scenes. You get stuff involving vehicles. You get all sorts of different types of action in this. So for the action alone, I would say check this movie out. Now, along with that action, you get a ton of story. They give these two main characters a lot of different motivations for why they do the things they do in this movie. And again, I don't want to spoil too many plot details, but let's just say while these two are teammates, there's times in this movie that they are at odds with each other. And again, spoiler section coming up, I'll talk about that. So you get a lot of different storylines going on, and they're very detailed. You get stuff about family, stuff about relationships, brotherhood, just all that sort of stuff is going on in the storyline for this. So no one can really complain that, at least with these two main characters, that there isn't any character development. So you get good character development, some awesome action, and for me, it was well worth the price of admission. I had to travel to see it. I had to travel about an hour to go see it because Champaign was the closest place that had it, and man, I had a good time with this movie. Again, it's a little long, but you don't feel it because there's just so much just insane stuff going on. Some of the different genres, and even certain movies that they kind of borrow from, because they borrow a lot, just gives you so much to enjoy with this movie. And while I wouldn't say rush to the theater to see it for everybody, if you like seeing how different countries handle genres you like, this might be a movie to check out. If you were, if you like The Raid, movies like that, or Old Boy, I wouldn't say the story's as deep as Old Boy, but boy does it try. If you like that kind of cinema, different takes on genres you like, definitely check out War. I will give you this bit of advice. In the movie, there's times where the characters will, they'll break into English and then go right back to their native tongue, but there's always subtitles. I would say still stick with the subtitles, because there was a few times I caught myself off guard where I maybe would miss a little bit of a line here and there on the subtitles because all of a sudden they're talking in English. And it was like, oh, it threw me off a little bit. So I just stuck with the subtitles, and you'll never go wrong there. You'll get everything if you stick with them. So that's the advice that I would give you for that. But yeah, as weird as parts of this movie gets, is a little all over the place with its different plots as it gets, I had a darn good time watching this movie. So again, if you like something a little different, if you like to try out foreign cinema that looks at genres that you might enjoy here in the States, definitely check out War. Now, I'm going to get into a bit of spoiler section, and while I don't know if I'll give up everything, I'm going to give up some pretty big plot points to this movie. The way the movie starts out, again, Khalid, played by Tiger Shroff, wants to be a part of Kabir's special military group. It's like a special forces / MI6. I mean, because you definitely get some Mission Impossible vibes through part of this movie. Heck, even some of the graphics and the intro and the credits and everything kind of feel like a Mission Impossible movie. Anyway, but he wants to be a part of this group, even though Kabir killed Khalid's dad. Because Khalid's dad was a traitor. And Khalid's family has been seen as traitors and not trusted because the dad betrayed the country. But Khalid wants to break that. He wants to bring honor to his mother, who was the one that turned in his father. for being a traitor. So they go, they train together and everything, but then Kabir doesn't want to take on Khalid because Khalid has a weakness. His right peripheral vision is messed up, and Kabir has noticed this, but then Khalid talks him into why he wants to honor his mother and all that. So Kabir lets him in, but that whole weakness thing comes into play way later in the movie. You almost forget about it because there's so much going on. Again, there's so much action and story between these two characters going on that you're kind of like, I almost forgot. But see, this is all in flashbacks, because where the story really starts is Kabir is on an assassination mission, but he ends up killing someone that works with his group. So he goes rogue. Definitely shades of Mission Impossible there too. And then of course Khalid wants to track him down. They're afraid that he's not gonna be able to focus on the mission because Kabir is his friend. So there's that brotherhood connection there, but Khalid's like, country comes first. So then we get the flashbacks of them training and all that. But then we also they go on this mission where Kabir is trying to track down this like supervillain, right? This worldwide can't find him for years type villain. And he almost has him, and he needs Khalid's help, but Khalid runs off and chases off after a traitor. Because, again, he wants to prove that his family is country first, right? That he's not his father. But Khalid gets seriously hurt, ends up in the hospital, but Kabir is by his side, and Khalid's so messed up. I mean, his whole face is all messed up, and they bandage him up and everything. Comes into play later. But then, so we go back to the main story of Khalid trying to track down Kabir. But then we start getting flashbacks of Kabir's life. And we find out that during one mission, even though he has kind of fallen in love with this woman, it is his mission, and he was using her, even though he did really end up loving her. And so that mission ends up going wrong, but it also leads to Kabir finding out some things about his government, and he needs to go rogue to figure out what's going wrong in his government. So Kabir isn't the bad guy. He's gone rogue, kind of like, in Ethan Hunt, you have something's wrong. There's a mole in MI6, and Ethan Hunt goes rogue to figure it out. And of course, he's the good guy. So it's that kind of connection. So then you get Khalid and Kabir working together to try to solve this stuff that Kabir has figured out. But this is where it gets crazy. Because during a firefight, Khalid saves Kabir's life. But this leads to an issue because Kabir notices something in Khalid that isn't right. We don't find this out till later, but I'm telling you this now because Khalid ends up betraying Kabir because, and here's where it starts borrowing from movies, the movie becomes Face Off all of a sudden, because the traitor that Khalid had chased after ended up beating Khalid and taking his face, because we find out that the main supervillain has taken on a new face. And then, so Khalid isn't Khalid anymore. Khalid died that day, and it's amazing. Because, but that being said, Kabir knows this. You think Kabir has been beaten, but then you find out that Kabir knew this because when Khalid had saved Kabir's life, he used his right peripheral vision to shove him out of the way. He saw a gun being pointed from this way, and he shoved Kabir out of the way, and that's how Kabir knew that something was wrong. Yeah, and it turns out that Khalid is not Khalid anymore. He's this traitor with a new face. And this, of course, leads to them having one climactic battle at the end, and it's pretty cool. I would have liked a little more with it, but it was cool. So, and then it sets up to where Kabir is like this hero that could do other movies, right? He could be in other movies, and I could see them doing other movies with this character, and it would be awesome. So again, this movie, when he's tracking down Khalid before their final fight, it kind of turns into Fast and Furious because, I mean, they're driving fast cars on ice. I mean, it's almost whichever Fast and Furious movie that was. I can't remember, was it 7, 8? I'm lost where they're at now in that series, but it's where they're driving on the ice. I'm surprised there wasn't torpedoes being shot, but there was weapons of mass destruction being fired up in the air. So I mean that kind of plays into that. But yeah, this movie becomes a lot of different things. It's Mission Impossible. It's Fast and Furious. It's Face Off. There's just so much going on, and it's so awesome. And when I was talking about earlier how they celebrate, okay, never at American cinema would you ever have, okay, the dude bros finish the mission, and of course in America they probably go out for a beer, right, or some whiskey or something, right? They go to a bar and celebrate. Well, in this movie, they have a full-on dance party they go to a club, and the movie all of a sudden turns into almost a musical. I mean, the characters are singing, and they're dancing, and these two guys, I guess, are known in India for their dance skills and everything, and I will say, though I don't see myself dancing like that, man, they're pretty talented, I will say that, but they're looking right at the camera and singing to the people watching. And look, I've never watched a lot of Indian cinema, and I don't know if this is like the norm, but I could see it taking some people out of the movie, but me, I was just like, okay, it's a cultural thing, and still, I mean, these characters are cool, and I mean, these are like parties, I mean, where it's, like the dust that they use at like a color run, that stuff's getting thrown in the air, and they're getting covered in it, and they do like a 5, 6, 7 minute dance sequence, and all of a sudden they get the text of, we have a mission for you, like they would do in an American film. It's like beep 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 beep. Oh, we have a mission. We got to stop drinking. We have a mission, right? Well, they do that too, and this does not happen once. It happens like 2 or 3 times in the movie where they have like a full on celebration, and again, very cultural, I imagine. It didn't take me out of the movie. It was a shock to the system for a bit, but it was just crazy how it just kind of all of a sudden it's color run dance party, but I thought it was pretty cool. I like the characters in the movie. My biggest complaint about the movie is, I'm not saying I'd want it to be longer because it's already 2.5 hours, but there's so much story going on. I would have liked maybe 2 or 3 more like fight sequences, because the fight sequences were really cool and I just wanted more of it. Kind of like a raid, where you'd have another couple fight sequences where they would do kind of those long tracking shots and everything. But again, the movie makes up for it in story, and the stuff that they do have is awesome. I love this movie. It's probably going to be one of my nominees for like biggest surprise of the year. And I had such a good time watching this movie. Again, I don't think it's a rush to the theater to see it for everybody. But if you do like odd action movies or different action movies that take a different look culturally, at the genre, then definitely check out War. And again, Kabir is one of the coolest characters I've ever seen in a movie. Khalid's not far behind. Kabir was cooler, mainly probably because he was the good guy. But again, I love this movie. You definitely have to check it out if you like different looks at action films. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about this movie, or if you have any knowledge of Indian cinema and want to tell me, is this the norm? Is there other movies like this? I would definitely like to know. Please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Till next time, I am your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.